Feeling lost in the noise of social media? INSPO cuts through the clutter, connecting you directly with real insights from real experts and industry leaders. It's a new social network dedicated to knowledge sharing, industry insights, and thought leadership. Get the latest from top minds in your field, or build your own thought leadership portfolio on INSPO. Already trusted by thousands of professionals worldwide, be part of the conversation and download INSPO Experts today on the App Store or visit www.inspo.expert.
Welcome back to the Take a Chance on You podcast, hosted by me, Alexandra Forsyth. Today, I'm so excited to be passing the mic to Julia Lebedev, who is the head of Vehicle Platform and MBSE. She has worked with teams, leading them, has 20 years of experience in the automotive, medical, government. She has worked across many different industries, and she will be talking about that in more depth today. Bit of a background. Leah joined IT in 1999 as an intern developer. She had no formal degrees, limited educational studies prior to working in this field, but she has transitioned through multiple different roles and now is considered as a leader in her field. After 10 years and a host of different companies, Julia decided she wasn't where she fully wanted to be and started to really lean in. Through that, she's learned how to care for her teammates, driving decisions through them, enabling her, and now she has found what she's looking for. So Julia, how are you doing?
Now I feel great. So I joined your podcast and I'm happy sharing something about this sort of, I believe, unusual leadership. So I'm quite happy.
Amazing. So I think what might be quite nice for the listeners, if you just want to give, I've given an overall background into who you are and what you do, but what might be quite nice is if you now give a little bit of an introduction into what you do.
Okay, so now for these days, I've been developing electric vehicles and companies in terms of how people do their work, what they care about, how things can be done from 0 to 1, and with specific knowledge on their side and specific efforts on management side. It's quite different from what I've been seeing around, but it helps to bring some trust and specific passion from different sorts of people who join company, who join team, and who feel really happy and ready to do their job, and how it might be possible to implement all such complex things as a team while still thinking and still maintaining trust between each team member, between team and management, and so on. So both vehicle engineering and team engineering, it's still architecture, and I'm architect of both sides of business.
That's fantastic. Definitely an interesting field to be in, I must admit. So I'm wondering, for anybody listening who wants to get into a leadership position but doesn't know how, wants to transition into different roles, how did that come to be? Because as I mentioned in the beginning, that lack of limited education, how did you manage to get your first role and then go up the ladder and, as I say, transition into leadership? Be really interesting to gain your insights into possibly the challenges that you faced along the way and how that really has informed your position as working with different team members and really advocating for them now.
So it was quite a long journey. So it took for me around 20 years to go through this not so high ladder, but it helped me to find that leadership is not about going to extremely high roles, to venture business or anything. And actual leadership started when I found myself in dead end of my career, where I can't continue working as usual and going back and hiding from any decisions from management, from people. As transgender person with no formal degree, I did everything which helped me to stay out of sight, So nobody knew me, and nobody wanted to be on my side. And I wanted to just do my job. But this was not an option. So I needed something different. I changed around 20 companies in first 10 around 10 years, and it was not so pleasant experience because I felt everywhere as a needed person, so as someone who might be there or might not be there, and nothing changes. And at some point I understood that it's not necessary to stay alone and to stay hidden. And I started to think about other people, about my teammates, and I started to help. So with just simple steps of asking, how can I help? What challenges they have? What decisions they need to take, and so on. I started to care about people, and it was a game changer for me. So it wasn't any role, any managerial role. It wasn't leadership, and it's general understanding. But it was quite opposite. Started to gain some respect from people, from the ones who started to trust me and started to think that I might be good fit to lead the team. And it appeared valuable for their management as well. And it still took long time to understand how to do it the best. And it take several more years to develop my leadership style, where I built people around myself in some sort of team, which wasn't. So now it's called matrix. Matrix leadership. You have no specific specific subordinates. You don't have to take real managerial decisions at first, but you still make some important decisions and something important for company. And after that, when manager saw that I'm capable of doing so, driving decision making, driving people involvement, driving kind of motivation and other things which are valuable for management, they started to recognize me. And it was another sort of difficulties. So I've been undergoing transgender transition for more than 20 years. So it's another side of my life, and it gave additional dimension of complexity to this task because I needed to prove not only myself as some sort of technician, someone who wants to take leadership, but I need to develop more subtle way of trust because no nowadays, no neither nowadays nor before, and there was no place for given trust to people's undergoing any transition. So it's kind of different thing, different way of thinking. Even if people see some value, they just can't be honest and can't do any additional can't give any additional, again, trust, any respect, anything which helps to make leadership possible for persons like myself. And only doing lot and lot of, in terms of, again, people care, I was able to go through all this, so mistrust, perhaps some sort of denial, and come to the place where I have true leadership. So first subordinate came to me in around 14th, 2015, quite long after I started my career in IT. But it was quite unusual experience because I proved myself and my company that I'm capable of doing more than anticipated. And me and my team brought totally new solutions and brought some success to the company I worked for. It happened that so I proved for myself that I can do different things and can lead people. Because before I never recognized that I can do that. So I can be a leader, can be someone who drives the change. And it was quite a start for myself. And still, I wanted to establish something different, more. And I started to doing mentoring, so more company-wide mentoring. I started to reveal myself. I started to uncover all my all my properties. So now I uncover how I live, how I've been developing my experience, how I do everything, and I started to be open in every decision made, from technical side, from leadership side, from everything. I started to be truly open to my team, and this was another boost because every company, next company, wanted to see open leaders. So not the ones who do some job behind their closed doors, but who comes to the teams, who talks to the teams, who hires people with open minds. And it helped in doing this sort of leadership of building teams from the very beginning. And in my last company, so in company I've been working for, I had more than 500 interviews building my new team. And now we have huge team of people who are openly minded and who care about others. I now see that it's possible to make some previously unusual things for me. So you see, I have two names. So I have one female name and one male name, and I allow to use everyone, any of the names, any pronouns, everything. And it turned out that people recognize this openness as a gift, and they feel free to use both names, so they understand each other correctly, even referring me by different names, by different pronouns. And it's another dimension. It's quite multidimensional experience because now I can take decisions on how entire company works in terms of processes, and teams, other teams respect my decisions and come for the advices, and my team comes with any problems, and I've been trying to solve this, and I see that it's possible to have this kind of truly open leadership. Before I thought it might be called servant leadership, but I now understand that it's not quite a right word, because servant is about doing some services, but leader is not about services. Leader is about presence, and is about some leaders for me like a glue between the pieces, and leader brings entire system as working as a whole, and without being such a glue, it's impossible to make system work. So now I've been developing some other name for this sort of leadership. I think that's all for
I love
now
everything
what
that
I can
you've
tell.
just mentioned then. I love everything that you've mentioned now. I feel like I can just go home. There's nothing left for me to ask. No, it was fantastic. I really loved the background that you gave, what you do, the importance of leadership. Because I think the role of leadership is very much evolving from what it once was. As you said, more of an open door policy in a way. As an individual, being able to talk to your team, check in with them, make sure everything's okay, have that relationship, that solid foundation is so important as a leader, because it doesn't matter what industry you're in. For me, whether it's cybersecurity, for you and what you do, it's still, leadership is universal. It still very much stays consistent between all industries, and we need to be able to just keep up to date with our employees, the business. So there's so many different mechanisms surrounding that. And I've spoken to different leaders in my circle, and we've mentioned the power of leading with empathy and compassion for our team, treating them as human beings. So having that human to human connection is really important, not just seeing them as somebody that helps drive the business growth. They do that, but they also have real world personal lives that they're tapping into, as well as coming to work every day. So it's making sure that we just remember that when we're talking to the people around us at all times. But I really love also, as you mentioned, that reflection piece, taking time to actually reflect on yourself and making sure that you're giving your all, as well as others giving to you what you need from them. Mentorship piece is really important. Allyship, making sure that you're putting yourself out there, tapping into others as well. So it's fantastic, everything that you've mentioned. And you've come such a long way, Julia. You've achieved so much. And I think it will be people will be able to relate to that. Anybody listening who possibly doesn't necessarily have the traditional background in terms of education, maybe feels that they can't step into that role because they don't have the affluence or the credibility, the network, the community around them. Actually, you can build that up over time, and you're just a credit to that. So it's fantastic to hear that you've risen above the ranks and you've faced a lot of challenges, but you've overcome that. So it's a credit to you that you've come so far. And like I said, the relatability from the audience, that will be key for this. I did just want to touch on an article that I read that you'd written a couple of months ago, but I came across it whilst I was doing a little bit of research into yourself. And you were talking about how to really connect with your team, how to really talk to your employees, making sure that your teammates feel seen and feel heard, and empowering them. And I think my next question for you is, what do you think we're missing? So this podcast is all about aspiring leaders on their way. You're very much tapping into that. So what do you think we need to do as leaders going forward? If we think about younger audiences, Gen Alpha, Gen Z coming into the workforce around the age of 2021, Gen Alpha are just behind around the ages of 14, 15. What do you think we need to do?
So I believe the main thing we miss is connection to people. So I had a number of interns in my team, and I see how many attention they need, how many time they need, how many answers they've been asking. And usually they never get the answers. They have to think about everything by themselves. So study everything by themselves. And later teams found their mentees in some position where they are totally disconnected. So for myself, it's kind of parenthood, because if you don't talk to your children, you see in the end children turned away from yourself and totally disconnected from you. And the same happens with any newcomer. If newcomer doesn't feel any connection and does everything on their own, they have no chance to be a part of team. And that's why I put every one-to-one as a primary thing to do. I've been arranging any one-to-ones as the top priority. And of course, it happens that because of something, one-to-one needs to be cancelled, but I still find time and find excuses. And I've been trying to come there open-hearted without any pushy things like performance metrics or anything. Of course, this might be happening because it's dialogue. It's not monologue on one-to-one, but I always bring it as a room to talk to the manager without having any specific topic to discuss. And over the months of over dozens of these one-to-ones, I see how trust is developed. So I see that even the ones who never wanted to talk at the beginning, they start talking later, even if we in the same office. It doesn't matter, but in the same office, we might be not talking at all except sending some tasks and receiving results. But on these calls, I focus on what is important to everyone who comes there. And I believe every leader needs to put people on their schedule as topmost priority, because no products are done due to products deadlines or everything. Products are done due to people passion to do the products. And if you don't arrange some good leadership style where people are doing their best because they like to stay in the team, because they like to do their job, you never have a product. And no commandments, no punishment, no anything helps to do the same as kindness does and people focus does. So I'll tell everyone who want to run successful leadership, if you do your own career, you can do anything. You can be pushy, you can be demanding, you can be anything. But then you will be doing your own career. But if you want to do product you care about, if you want to have some result, then you have to focus on people and let people do their job without any disturbances, because only this helps them achieve deadlines, achieve result, achieve everything, bring something new, develop for anything they want, only because you invest into your people and into your leadership. So that's what I think.
I think that's brilliant. I really relate to letting people do their jobs. I think that's so important. We don't need another, I don't really like the phrase, but micromanaging. I do see value sometimes if you have somebody new and you're onboarding them and they need more guidance, possibly in the beginning of their journey with you as an organization in your team. But over time, you really have to relinquish control in that sense. You have to let people trial and error, figure things out on their own. You always need to be that leader and that person who they can confide in and come back to. We are meant to be problem solvers and to find solutions for our team, but at the same time, we want them to find solutions themselves and come to us with that will help the team grow and develop together as well as individually. So I think that's really important. I'm really glad you mentioned that. And then also in terms of missing the connection with people, I really love the power of one-to-ones. Again, I've spoken to a few other leaders in the field and they've said exactly the same thing. Sometimes removing the formalities of a one-to-one and actually booking something in, but just saying, do you want to catch up for 5 or 10 minutes or 15 minutes? Excuse me, there doesn't need to be an agenda, but you can just have a minute to reflect. And I think you mentioned this in the article that you wrote. You said or I think it was one of your posts actually, but you mentioned not having that agenda, and if somebody wants to just sit in silence, they can. If they don't want to speak during the one-to-one, that's absolutely fine. You would allow for that, and it's so powerful. Actually just giving the ownership back onto the person, to the employee, and taking that away from yourself so they can just have a minute to reflect. Are any challenges if they want to, and if they don't, they can just have that time to reflect. So I think that's fantastic that you mentioned that. And I really love kind of your advocacy for just shaping and molding individuals into who they really want to be in the workplace, because you work with your team for 5 days of the week. It's a long time. You're around each other a lot, whether virtually or in person in the office. You really need to have that good and solid relationship, that back and forth. You need to be able to speak to each other. And I think if I were to say what was missing, I would agree with yourself. Missing connection to people and also just missing that human to human drive, being able to communicate. I think since COVID, and I've said this before, we have become a little bit more anxious, I feel, as individuals socially, and then in the workplace. Going back to the office for 5 days of the week doesn't really seem as normal as it used to, if that's the word I can use to phrase it. So yeah, it's definitely connecting with people, building that community, networking, communicating with each other is really important. So I love everything that you've mentioned. I want to just ask one last question. In terms of what you do, I try and ask guests this because anybody listening might not be as familiar with your role and actually what you do day to day. So I wondered if for a minute or two you could just give an overview as actually this is what I do for anybody interested and possibly wants to follow in the same say?
Okay, so my role is quite multi-headed. So now I've been driving technical decisions. So I've been developing electrical vehicle at the moment, and I have to drive for the best possible decisions across the continents. So several teams in different countries are involved into the decision making in production of the vehicle, and this is another. So it's another set of responsibilities beside just purely technical things. So first of all, I've been taking some decision making ownership to myself, and next I've been helping people to not only decide but to fail. So one of my formulas here, you can decide everything, and if something goes wrong, please come to me and point to myself as the one who took that decision, and we will sort out anything. And having this back, people are doing their best to implement anything. So it's one part of my experience. Next, I've been doing action first things. So I've been mentoring and driving change in release processes within the company. And I believe we always had different teams doing some process making or some methodology making or anything with just zero success. And here I've been just putting the bricks right before our train and putting rails there and guiding our train going that way and paving the path right before we go with next step. And this helps to establish processes as they are really necessary and executed. So it's another part of decision ownership and decision making where almost no one wants to invest. And executing all this helps people to come and implement their ideas and drive change because they see action works better than words. And people from other departments start solving the same problems and driving change because they see it's possible. So it's another part. Next, I've been trying to interview anyone and be in hiring process as hiring manager as deep as possible because finding likely minded persons to join is quite challenging. And actually, I've been looking there for only the persons who can like to think and decide. For myself, it doesn't matter whether they have diploma or PhD or anything, but if they are open to decision making, to new knowledge, it's huge green flag. You can teach them any technology, any process, anything, and they will be happy and they will do their work not because they know every aspect, but because they like to learn, to study anything, and to learn from even mistakes. So that's another part. And last but not least is mentoring. So I'm open for everyone, and it turns out that people come to myself with any sort of questions related to work, related to their personal things. So just asking for an advice. And it's another part of doing people care and mentoring in any aspect and finding some perhaps solution for them. For one side, it's challenging, but on the other side, it's quite promising. So here I can be connected to people and they value that connection uh, despite any other perhaps difficulties, sorts of conflicts in work, anything. But talking to each other, we can solve everything. And that gives another set of opportunities for us.
And for anybody listening, if they are interested in connecting with Julia, I would highly recommend possibly dropping her a note on LinkedIn. I'll make sure to tag all of her links. As she's mentioned throughout, she really wants to empower other people, not just within her team, but externally as well. So if you do have any questions relating to anything Julia has mentioned today, and please do follow along with her journey and send her a little note, as I mentioned. It's been such a fantastic episode to listen to you today, Julia. I think you're doing amazing work as always. You've come such a long way, and I think you will be a true inspiration for those out there who, as I said before, may not come from the traditional background in terms of education, but rising above the ranks, keep going, finding the company that's right for you. As you said before, you've gone through a few different companies just to get to where you are, but you're really making headway with your team, empowering them. That's fantastic. One thing that I do like to do with guests at the end, do you have anything that you'd like to say, a quote or a phrase that listeners can take into a new day with them, or something that you haven't yet told anybody and that you'd like to share on the podcast?
Last thing I'd like to share, so start mentoring your team for their next role in next company. So that's simple. Make everything for them to grow and go out. And only then they will be as long with you as they can.
Amazing. Start early is what I'm hearing, not waiting and for the right opportunity or the right person to mentor, but starting early. Definitely agree with that. And that was Julia talking today about her roles, what she thinks of leadership. And it was a fantastic episode. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you.
I will speak to you all very, very soon. And that's Take a Chance on You. Bye.